these high streets are down, but the one thing that still seems to be booming, the big brand that's still there in Broadmead, were all these Greggs. So Greggs are doing well. So Jack, the guy I was walking with, gave me his whole theory. He said, I think there's an inverse correlation between, the vibrancy of a place and the number of Greggs. And then I started thinking in my head, I bet I could map that. That's how, whenever anyone talks about something that's like an anecdote like that, I go, I can prove that.
Yeah, the nerd in you went, oh, I can prove that right or wrong.
Yeah, I can prove that right or wrong. All right, I think we're gone live. I think we've gone live there. So so Aaron's put us on. So we're just in the middle of the hangover chat, comparing war stories, me and Lawrence. So I was out for a poker night last night and had at the office building where I work, they've got a bar and they've had a beer tap put in for the local brewery, and the beer is usually $2.50, and on Thursdays as happy hour it was £2.50 for 2 pints, $1.25 a pint. And for anyone who goes drinking in the UK, that's it doesn't get any cheaper.
Do they bring you both beers at the same time?
Oh yeah, you have to double park.
Oh wow,
yeah, you can't go back in and trade the next one. Yeah, you got to double park.
Oh man,
it's all right if you're on a little round system, a buddy system with someone, you can share them off. It's not as bad like when you can't double park in Cambodia because it's too hot. Your beer gets warm and it's horrible, right, isn't it? But here that's not like a primary concern.
It's like, and then you got to rush to drink the first one so that the second one.
Yeah, you got to rush to drink the first one. I came third in the poker as well. It was competition rules. Scraped the third. So first, second, and third got money out of the pot. So I doubled my stake. Didn't win much, but I scraped it by the skin of my teeth to get that third position. But yeah, it was a good night. And Lawrence was saying he's still got a hangover from 2 nights ago. It's a disgraceful behavior.
2-day hangover. It's an absolute disgrace.
What was the occasion?
Nothing. I wish I had an occasion. I mean, like I said, I haven't been drinking a lot at all recently. Haven't got drunk in like a long time. Just been sort of taking it easy. It's like end of February night after Christmas. You sort of want to have that nice bit of calm in January and February. And on Wednesday, I finished work, and it was just the right time. It was the right time to renege. So we went for a couple of beers, and then that turned into a few more, and then a few more, and then. Yeah, so I had to go and pick up my bike on Thursday morning because I couldn't drive home.
Nice.
So I had to get the taxi home, ride back into the city, get my motorbike from the bar, sort of like do the walk of shame, and then ride away. So,
well, kudos for not driving.
I didn't actually drink much last night, but I think I got hit a little bit hard because I've been fasting for a week. Been doing eat once a day, 24-hour fast. I'm trying to get. I've still got this little bit of a tire from Christmas. So I usually fast 16-8. I do that all the time. It's just that's what gives me a lot of energy. I find it I'm very productive with that. So I've been trying to do the 1 meal a day. That's hard. That's brutal, that one. And I ate something before the poker, but yeah, I still feel like it contributed. Anyway, I think probably we get away from the barroom talk now and get onto the open data and the mapping talk.
Yeah, I think we were talking about doing the Guess Who's challenge. I've got I can kick off.
Are you ready to go first, Michael? Okay.
Yeah. I can kick off with my screen share. It's a migration map. I think. Let's see. What do I got? I'm not big on this technology stuff. Where we go? Screen share. There we go. Share my migration map. So if Aaron can let me know when it's pulled up. You can see it on screen.
Yeah, we've got it there. National Movers Study, North American Moving Services.
Yeah, so this is cool. This is a bit of interesting data from last year, 2022. And so I'll give you guys, before I scroll down and kind of reveal it, you got some red states here and some blue states here.
Is that politics?
Well, no, kind of, but sort of. But it's where this is the red and blue. One of them people are moving away from.
That's California, right? Is that
this one here on the far? Yeah. So I'll give you guys a chance to guess where people are moving away from and where they're moving to. So, red or blue.
I think they're moving to blue. The reason I'm saying that is I often listen to Lex Friedman podcast and Joe Rogan sometimes, and both of those guys have moved to Austin. So there seems to be, in the tech scene, that's what I follow, the startup community, I'm noticing from Twitter and everything, there seems to be a big exodus away from Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and the new hub in the US seems to be Austin.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of reasons why people are moving from one state and going to another, and this one doesn't necessarily break down where they're coming from, or some of them are obviously moving away from the gray part to get to the blue, but definitely this is showing red's getting smaller. They got outbound in migration, and then the blues getting bigger. And people talk about the California to Texas migration because that's the jump Joe Rogan made and a lot of the other comedians and podcasters and tech guys. But it's interesting to see here, like, it's not just Texas is winning. I had also heard about Tennessee, which is this sort of wonky rectangle over here. But my hometown actually looks like it's been benefiting from some migration here too in North and South Carolina. I think everybody knew Florida was going to be a winner too. But these are the states that sort of, here's a breakdown here of the inbound and outbound states and the percentage that they either increased or decreased, which it's a lot, man. That's the takeaway. They did, give a little report of what they suspect is the reasoning, which a lot of people, there was a tech migration, but also something that we highlighted in a previous podcast was that income tax and the property values, right? Like how expensive it is. So obviously, California definitely expensive. Some of these northeastern states pretty expensive, whereas taxes, as well as we know, this one just above Texas and right around, those were pretty cheap real estate. But you can't count out just the Southeast in general, being low property.
South Carolina was number one, and number two was North Carolina.
Yeah, on the inbound states.
On the inbound
southbound,
states, wow.
Yeah,
so what are the reasons? What are the specific reasons? So it was like house prices and taxes. Is that what they identified?
Yeah, so they identified, quality of life is the top concern.
No question.
Yeah, and so, one of those things, quality of life is going to be, can I buy a house for cheaper?
I'll raise my hand. Like I got a question.
Hey, yes, Chris.
Okay, all right, thank you. So my understanding is, I've got a really rudimentary understanding. So in the US, not every state has the same income tax. You got different income taxes. What's the kind of swing on that? How much do we, how much would I be saving? What's the most expensive maybe, and what's the cheapest? I don't know if you got that data or just roughly.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that this sort of showcases that pretty well. Like North Carolina, and the Carolinas in general, as well as Tennessee. I don't know about the ones below us, but the income tax is fairly low, as well as tax on other goods. Like you'd mentioned.
Oh, like VAT. Service tax.
Yeah, so you'll have like sales tax or something on a product that you buy, and that'll be different in every state too. So you'll pay 7 or 8, I don't know what it is now, but you used to pay 8 cents on a dollar anytime you go to Walmart and go shopping or something. Okay. In North Carolina, whereas you might pay 11, 10, 12, 20 cents on a dollar somewhere like California, New York, somewhere like that. And then also your income tax, as well as your, they tax your house tax, things like that. That's going to be higher in the bigger states too. Yeah,
you can choose your own adventure, because that's what I really like about the American model. That's really cool. And I from over here, the other side of the pond, I always hear Americans like moaning about politics and the different states, but I think it's awesome that you can choose your state and you can pick your own adventure. So you can say, this is what I like. I'm more of a sort of like guns and freedom guy. I could go to Texas, and then I could choose my adventure. That's really cool. Like if all of a sudden Wales had half the income tax of England tomorrow, I'd be there in like a gunshot. Like a really interesting thing about tax as well, why I like that choice, is because it adds a bit of a free market dynamic to it. People can vote with their feet. Like personally, I'm not necessarily a low tax guy, but I do believe that you should get value for money. I think there should be value for money. That's what really pains me, is that the tax rates here in the UK are pretty high. They're not that bad for Europe, because a lot of my neighbours, the neighbourhood I live in here in Bristol, a lot of us on one side from Spain, someone else is from Hong Kong. Hong Kong's got low tax. They're here for other reasons, but there's a lot of other Europeans here, and there's a lot of French kids at my kids' school, and they were saying that the rates there are much higher than the UK, so I can't whinge, but the rates in the UK are much higher than Cambodia, for example.
For sure.
So, but it's the value for money thing. I think that's what everyone's sort of a bit upset about at the moment, is you feel like where's that money going? What the service is like. I feel like I pay a lot of tax and don't get a lot of return.
In the US,
people get upset.
The thing people whinge about the most in the U.S., I think, is when you pay high taxes or whatever, if in the state you're in or in the city that you're in, and then your roads are junk. Like the things that are public services, you look around and you're like, where is this money going? The roads are terrible. The bridges are, they need to be rebuilt and all this stuff. I actually got another one real quick, sort of a more broader scale migration report that I found. Let's see, I got a screen share again. Hey, there we go. So this other one was a world migration report, which is way more data rich. I don't know if you guys can see this.
No, you still with us, Aaron? You still awake?
Oh, you ain't got my screen. Oh no.
Ah, Michael.
Oh no. What about now?
We got to start calling Aaron Jamie, like on Joe Rogan. We got Jamie, you can pull that up for us.
Aaron, what you got for me?
Oh, I can see it now.
Okay, cool. So this one, to be honest, everything on here that's not a map to me is kind of hard to read. Like I don't really get it even after reading through it. It's very complex, but when we get down to just the part that's actually mapped out, here you can see this was one that was timeline of international travel restrictions, and as I read through, I think they were pointing to this as a big indicator of why people migrated to where they migrated to. So this one's pretty interesting, but then when you get down to where they've actually got it mapped out here, total number of international migrants within each country, you get to see who just kind of stand out who the winners were in terms of migration, and it allows you to highlight the countries themselves, but it's then represented by these bubbles, which is kind of tricky to read, but you kind of can just see at a quick glance like where a lot of people moved to, over the last year. This is all from 2022. So
that's Russia's pretty interesting. So that's net migration into Russia, because that's kind of surprising, because the news narrative is like, oh, these professionals are leaving Russia because of the war. But that's telling a story of maybe people are going home. They're worried they're going to get, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the story is there, but that's an interesting one. But the wider point around maps, I have this discussion in the office here quite a lot with other startups about how maps are a great way to present big data. Because a lot of big data, when you look at it in graphs, the graphs can be, there was a lot of spaghetti that I saw previously in that.
This stuff up here, I'm like, what does this even mean? Like, wild.
That's like, that's tough. And then also there are patterns. I'm going to share a map in a minute. The sort of funny one. We'll get to that in a bit. But there's patterns that you can see in a map sometimes that you could spend days or weeks on a spreadsheet and you just wouldn't see. But as soon as you see it on a map, you're like, okay. When we're looking at like the state level map, like you were looking at a minute ago, Michael, where we're looking at migration, there's only 50 states, isn't there? So that's a small enough spreadsheet that you can kind of pass that in your own head and find some patterns. But when you get down to like county level data or zip code data or something like that, it's not humanly possible. Maybe our AI overlords in future will be able to process that and come up with meaningful answers. But us as humans, we can't. We would be there for weeks. We would need data analysts to come and help us with that. Am I rocking back and forward again? I said on this podcast, I'm not going to rock back and forward when I'm talking.
I don't know. I had it switched over my screen share. It sounded like you're rocking.
I myself to the chair.
Just mount the whole computer to your head so that as you...
There's that guy on the TikTok, isn't he? Does the Zoom calls from stadiums and that. Yeah, I need one of those. I'm rocking again.
So that's it for me. I thought we had mentioned migration before, and I sort of dug in and tried to see if I could find I'd heard sort of through the tech, grapevine that people move into Texas, but it's like where else? What's the other trends?
People are definitely on the move. I think COVID sprung a lot of it off. I think COVID really opened the floodgates for the idea of remote work. So remote work, I think there are some industries where remote work had kind of been embraced to a degree. So the tech sector, the software sector, I think it was already there. For engineers and people that are easily tracked, an engineer, how much code they've written and what they've committed, so whether they're being productive or not. But for support staff and other staff around that, they were still going to the office. But I think COVID really opened the gate for that, and then it got people's minds turning. I can move now. I could keep my job. Before, when you made a big move like that, you had to move everything: house, kids out of school, job, the whole bit. Like now it's a little bit easier, especially for younger people who are not married and don't have many commitments. If I could keep my job, move somewhere that I think gives me a better deal and a better quality of life, it makes sense. Here in Bristol, like in this building, there's about 1,000 people in this building. And like when I walk around here, Bristol, for those of you outside the UK, Bristol's got a very distinctive accent, I think would be the right way to put it. It's a pretty thick accent, very quite easy on the ear. Think of pirates. Well, you think of pirates in pirate movies. That's the Bristol
Buccaneers.
Accent. Blackbeard was from Bristol. Bristol was a piracy hub back
but he died in North Carolina.
He died in North Carolina. Well, there's that connection right there, Michael. He was born here and died there, right? Okay. So, that's the accent here. And I walk around this building, and there's no Bristol accents in here. So the big migration that I've seen, which is really interesting, is London to Bristol. But what's even more interesting than that is all of the people from London are not Londoners. They're people who are from all over the country, finished uni, graduates, gravitated to London because that's where the best career opportunities are in the UK, especially if you're in tech, especially if you're in certain industries, and the best salaries are. But the cost of living is also like really high in London, especially for property. So what's happened is London sucked them in from all over the country. And now there seems to be this big trend that there's a few cities in the UK where they're now migrating out of London to. Bristol's one. Oxford and Cambridge have always been like that because of the universities. Brighton, there's a few others. So there's a real trend of that internal migration. And I think it's great where you could just go, I'm going to go where it treats me best. You know, that's a good system.
Yeah, my friends have done that because I used to live in London as well, and the cost of living, like you said, it's prohibitive cost of living, but the option to move at that time wasn't there. But a few of my friends have done that now. Like, well, you met them, Chris. I mean, they're living they bought a house in Bristol. There's others who have moved out, to the perimeter of London, say. But I think beyond that, I think as we, the next few years, I think that's probably going to go even wider. It's going to be Bristol, and then they go even north. People are going to look where they want to live, I think.
Well, your friends are a great example. What was their names again? I've forgotten their names.
Sam and Freya.
Yeah, Sam and Freya. So I met when Lawrence was back in the UK last time. He came over to Bristol, and I met Sam and Freya around Christmas time, wasn't it? And so Sam and Freya, their story is really common in this office. Exactly the same. They were saying they were being squeezed out of the areas in London that they wanted to live due to price. So they end up living in some faraway suburb. They're away from the good transport links. Quality of life's affected, and then they've moved to Bristol, which this isn't US scales here. It's an hour 15-minute train journey. Okay, to get from Bristol to like central London, or an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, depending on what train you take. And now they're in Bristol. They're living in one of the best neighborhoods in the city. They're living in it. There's a place called Southville. It's the real kind of like artisan neighborhood. Lots of like really cool street art and murals everywhere. And if you want your oat milk lattes, that's the spot. There hasn't been cow's milk in Southville since 2012, I think.
When I was in London, I took the train to Bristol. I mean, it wasn't an insignificant train, but it was fine. If you're heading back to London like 1-2 days a week, like I think most people are, it's completely manageable. It's not too far at all. It's hour 15 minutes.
I quite often just jump on a train, go to London, and then come back, and within my working day.
You could do that.
It's easy to do. And then that side note here, that Queen Elizabeth line, there's a new line on the tube in London. So London, anyone who's been to London, you'll know that we were the first to have the tube, and or the underground. What do you call it in the States, Michael? Subway. Yeah. So I think London was one of the first cities globally to have a subway, and it looks like that. it looks
like the first one.
Yeah, it looks like the first one. It's tiny. Like all the roofs are like, anyone who's above 6 foot has to like sit with the platforms are small, real crowded. This new Elizabeth one is like a modern one. Like when you go to like newer cities, places in Australia, big platforms, big trains, everybody gets a seat. You're not there sniffing 4 people's armpits. Yes, that's nice. And you can get from Paddington, which is a train station you get in from Bristol, and you get to Liverpool Street in like 10 minutes or something, like right across central London. Whilst before you had to go on the Circle line, it was something to map in future, actually, time travel distances. I think there's some pretty good apps out there. All the Londoners are on it. The one where you can say where you're going to and from, and it's better than Google Maps, and it will plan the most efficient route on the tube. So even stuff like, so it tells you like walk out of this door and walk across the platform, because that's where Google Maps falls down. Like some of those tube stations in London, like I said, the planning was from Victoria times. They're crazy. You go up on a platform and go down and up and around, and if you're not from London, you're like, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. So there's this app that will just like guide you through it. Anyway, so where do we go then? We go on a tangent. We're on demographics. We were talking about shift, internal migration, Bristol to London. All right, should we switch topics then? So should we switch over to you now?
I think I've got like more of a fun thing. So I think probably you should go next, Chris. I think you've got something to announce, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've got an announcement. So maybe Jamie, could you pull up the screen, please? Okay, cool. So what we've got now is Mapstack is now on production. So I had a rush of blood on Tuesday night. We weren't planning to release quite yet, but I had a rush of blood on Tuesday night, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to push it to production. So the beta version of Mapstack is now live on production. Everybody can go to Mapstack.io now, and you can see the first few maps. We haven't told, this is like a world exclusive right here. We haven't said on Twitter, we haven't told anybody that we've done this. So the only maps that are on there at the moment are ones that I've created or ones that have been created by our team. As some of you know, a lot of our developers are in Cambodia, so you can have see some maps in Khmer language, which is pretty cool. This is my Khmer is pretty Jonti Rabo Prote Kampuchea. Jonti. Okay, so Prote Kampuchea is the country of Cambodia. And Panti, it just says Panti, so that means map of Cambodia. Okay, it's pretty interesting.
There you go.
And then we click on a feature, and this is Kompong Tom and Chimu Kait. So that means the name of the province, Kompong Tom. And then this one says Lake Gomnang Kait. So this is the number of the province. Okay, so it looks like provinces in Cambodia are numbered. Okay, so a very simple map there that was uploaded by Dora, one of our developers at Mapstack. So let's go back to the homepage here. Yeah, so this is live, and what I've actually done. So how this is going to work with Mapstack. This is the homepage, so you can see how it kind of looks like YouTube. At the moment, what have we got in here? We've got like 12 maps. Okay, I think we might do a map count on every podcast. Maybe I want to have this is like the early days of YouTube. If you put a map on there now, you're going to be one of the first. You'll go down in history of one of the first people to place a map and some open data on Mapstack. In future, hopefully there will be hundreds of thousands on here, and we can see the newest. Maps near me, and I've actually created a workspace. So you can think of a workspace in Mapstack as like a channel in YouTube or a project in GitHub. So I've made a workspace for the Unmapped podcast, okay, called the Unmapped, and we can see that we've got 3 members in there. It's myself, Michael, and Lawrence. And there's been 6 maps. So what I did is I uploaded all of the maps that we've talked about or shown in the previous versions of the podcast. So for those of you that have seen all the episodes, you'll recognize some of these. UK area average property price, October 2022. UK house price change by area. Global fertility rates, 2022. And then the maps that I'm going to be looking at today, let's not talk about those. UK Greg's count. There's a story behind that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. And then the team in Cambodia. So let's look down here. So channel maps, Unmapped Cambodia. So the guys in Cambodia, the dev team there, are going to start their own channel. Before, we had what we call a staging server, which was a server that we had access to internally, and they've built up quite a repository of Cambodian data with some interesting stuff in there. So I think over the coming weeks, they're going to start populating that out. So what we hope to see in the future is there's going to be lots and lots of workspaces that highlight that are groups of different interesting data sets from around the world. We could do one for the UK, one for Bristol, one for South Carolina, one that's to do with population or fertility or anything like this. And then what we would hope to have happen in the future, once we've got all of the world's open data in Mapstack, anybody can come in here and hit a search and say, you know, I'm interested in fertility. Hit the search button. Oh, there's the world fertility map, and everything's tagged in there. So that's what we're aiming for. And then ultimately, we want to be listed on Google as well. So you go and search for something, and the map's in here. Because I'm probably going to get the klaxon in a minute about talking about Mapstack too much. But one of the problems with open
data... We'll let you off. It's the launch.
Okay, let me off this time, because it's the point of my talk. Okay, it's the launch.
It's the one-time deal.
One-time deal. All right.
One-time deal.
So one of the problems with open data that I've talked about a lot is, number one, is open data spread around all 4 corners of the internet. There's all these different open data portals from various governments and government departments and private companies, and it's very difficult to find. And then problem number 2 is usually when you do find it, it's only available as raw data rather than an actual map. So for people that aren't in our industry, that are not mapping people, they don't know what to do with a shapefile or a geodatabase. You know, they don't even know where to start. So it's very inaccessible. So what we want Mapstack to be is not a replacement for GIS and all of those tools or other open data portals. We want it to be an on-ramp. So this is for people to go from doing nothing with maps and data to doing something, 0 to 1. So think of this as an on-ramp. So if you have another data portal, don't feel threatened by this. If you have other GIS tools, don't feel threatened about this. Think this is going to be an on-ramp that's going to bring more people into our world, because I think we can all agree that it's quite inaccessible for new people. The tools are expensive, they're complicated, they're time consuming, and a lot of people give up. And the other thing is, I want Mapstack not to be too serious as well. We can have some fun with it. I want it a place where you can just throw up maps. So, are you guys familiar with GitHub? Do you know what GitHub is?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so GitHub is a place where you can take open source projects and they'll host the source code for you. And source code in open source projects has something called version control. So you have every change that was ever made in the software. Now, GitHub really revolutionized open source software to a degree. It really expanded the size of the pie. Because prior to that, if you had an open source project, you had to have your own web server and your own website to host all of that stuff. So only the really big projects got that far. And a lot of like pet projects were just on people's hard drives. No one ever really knew about them. So GitHub was a real game changer. They took all the world's open source software, put it in one place. And then what happens now is people share really, really niche things. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I have a configuration file for my coding editor with my favorite settings and colors in it. And I've put it on GitHub so it's open and anybody can use it. And every month I see there's people downloading my configuration for my code editor. Previously that's the kind of thing that would never get online. It would never, that's not big enough for me to make a website for it where people can go and access the code. So GitHub really expanded the pie. And then what happens, it's like a gateway drug into open source GitHub. You go and help on a little project, or you make your own little project, and then maybe you see someone else doing something interesting, and I can go in and say, hey, would you like a hand with that? I think I can contribute something to this. And it really grew the pie. And I'm hoping that Mapstack will do the same thing for open data. So we're going to have some serious data in there. I imagine in future we'll have government departments putting all of their serious data in there. And then also we have scope to do some things that are just fun, like a coding editor configuration file might not seem fun to you guys, but us developers, we take it very seriously. Our colors and our themes and these kind of things. It's like, how some people are very, their home says something about them. You know what I mean? Their home or how their front room is. For us developers, our editor talks about us. Are you using, here's the fire alarm, 9:30 fire alarm, everybody do the dance. Panic. It's not very loud in here. I'm in a different meeting room today. You can see the wallpaper's changed.
Yeah, I like the floral print you got there.
Yeah, the floral print is it's gangster. Isn't it? It's a bit OTT. They did a decoration recently, and there was kind of floral prints before, but they really doubled down on that. It's pretty loud. All right, so an example of a fun map. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to look at a fun map. So we're going to look at maps of Greggs in the UK. Like Lawrence, you know what Greggs is. Michael,
I know what Greggs is.
You don't. Okay, so Greggs in the UK is a bakery that sells cakes, sausage rolls, pies, things like this, and it's very good value for money. Like you could go in there and you can fill yourself up. It's probably one of the cheapest places that you can eat out in the UK. It's food that you don't eat in usually. There's a couple of chairs around, but it's the kind of food that you grab on the run. But although they have some healthier options, as do McDonald's, I would hazard a guess that it's not the healthiest food option on the high street. Anyway, I was with one of the guys I work with yesterday, and he's getting married next week. So he was going to the dry cleaners to pick up a shirt, and he said, "You want to take a walk with me?" So we're in the city centre here in Bristol, and the route we took to get to the dry cleaners, we went past about 5 Greggs. So he's going, "No, this is the 5th Greggs we've seen," and then he gave me his whole theory about how there's a inverse correlation between the number of Greggs and how vibrant an area is. So the city centre in Bristol, like what we call the high street, which is where all the shops were. So in the UK, in the US, you have kind of a CBD and you have all your tall buildings. In the UK, our tall buildings tend to be scattered, and the central area will be a big shopping district, which is usually pedestrianised, has lots of stores that you can go in and buy trainers and TVs. And they used to be the heart of the city. So here in Bristol, it's called Broadmead. Broadmead, when I was a kid, I used to love that place. We'd go there, at Christmas, the Christmas lights would be there. All the best shops were there. The store windows were all the displays, the not really nice displays and lighting. And since internet shopping, these places have become a ghost town. I walk through Broadmead now and it's all like vape stores and pound shops and bargain places, or some of them are just empty. And these big department stores, There's one there called Debenhams. It's a big department store in the UK. I think like Macy's in the US is that big department store.
It's one of
something
them, yeah.
like that. The whole chain went bust last year or the year before, and that was a big story for me because my stepdad worked at Debenhams his whole life. Rose from the bottom to sort of quite senior in that company. So I'd spent a lot of time in that store in Bristol. So when I saw it get boarded up and shut down, that was, for me, there was a little bit of nostalgia to it. So these high streets are down, but the one thing that still seems to be booming, the big brand that's still there in Broadmead, were all these Greggs. So Greggs are doing well. So Jack, the guy I was walking with, gave me his whole theory. He said, I think there's an inverse correlation between, the vibrancy of a place and the number of Greggs. And then I started thinking in my head, I bet I can map that. That's how whenever anyone talks about something that's like an anecdote like that, I go, I can prove that.
Yeah, the nerd in you went, oh, I can prove that right or wrong.
Yeah, I can prove that right or wrong. Because to me, in my head, I work with data a lot, and I didn't say it to him. We were just having a joke. But in my head, I was thinking, no, the correlation there is going to be urban centers. Okay, there's going to be a lot of Greggs. So if you map this, all it's going to be is you're just going to see all of the urban centers in the UK light up because there'll be lots of Greggs within close proximity to each other, and that will be the biggest correlation, more of a correlation than anything else. So
if anybody works for Greggs, and if you could comment and just confirm whether or not you guys target.
Confirm nor deny that we. All right, so I went and scraped the data out there for the addresses of all of the Greggs in the UK. Pulled it into QGIS, as you do. For the mapping guys, you all know what I'm talking about. Pulled all of the Greggs up, and then first of all, I decided to use a technique called hex binning. Okay, so hex binning is a technique where you draw little hexagons over the entire area that you're interested in, and then you count the number of points, in this case Greggs, inside each one of those hexagons. So you can see here these hexagons in the UK. And so I made that map, and then I showed it to the guys in the office, and they weren't as interested in that as I thought they would be, because the problem is with the hexagons is they don't have a name. They wanted to say, oh, what about like this area of a city or that area of a city, and go and find it, whilst the hex bins didn't allow us to do that. So I said, right, okay, back to the drawing board. I'm going to get rid of the hex bins. And what I went to instead is I took the areas of the UK. So I put them in the areas, the same maps that I've done with property prices, because a lot of people in the office here are from other companies. This is an office for like startups and tech companies, and there's about 50 different companies in this whole building. So I'm with a lot of people every day who are nothing to do with mapping. But they were interested in the property maps that I'd made before, the house price stuff, because that's hot topic here in the UK. So I made a Greggs by area here in the UK, and I joined it with the data that we did before about property prices, so we could see if there's any correlation between property prices and the number of Greggs. So we'll look at the Greggs side first. So here's a map of the UK, so we can see that the darker the color, the higher the Gregg count. So anywhere that's in light is between 0 and 2 Greggs for that entire area. Anywhere in like dark purple is 36 to 55 Greggs. That is a lot of Greggs. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Michael, and for everyone else out there that doesn't know what Greggs is, I'm going to pull up a picture of what Greggs is. So you've got a mental picture in your head of what Greggs is while we're talking about this. They're very nice looking stores. Their food's delicious.
Where are they headquartered? Because I feel like that might have a little bit of an impact.
I don't know. Jamie, could you pull that up for us, please? Where's
the headquarters of Greggs?
Okay, so let's look at the pictures here. So you can see what Greggs are doing. Baked goods. This is what their store looks like. They're very uniform, like McDonald's. They're all the same. You go in there, you know exactly what you're going to get. Their sausage rolls are delicious. They're about £1. It's cheap food. They're delicious. Not good for my waistline, so I try to steer clear of them. So we got here in the... So we're here in the UK, and there were some kind of surprises in here. So there's not any clear pattern. So there is a pattern around cities. So you can see straight away, we're seeing like dark Cardiff, Birmingham, Leeds, Newcastle, Glasgow, Edinburgh. But not all cities are showing up purple. So my thought was, this is just going to be correlated with population. Okay, but that's not actually the case, because if that was the case, you'd expect London to be glowing bright purple. Now, I think next week I might do a map for pret-a-manger. Pret-a-manger is it's like coffee for people that want to pay an extra £1. You know, it's like the coffee. Michael's a coffee snob. You know, the Pret coffee's all right. It's all right, but yeah. London's full of them. So London, Pret sells all the baked goods and the sandwiches as well. So this is so London's kind of dry on Greggs. The real standout for me was this one here. It was Wiltshire. So Wiltshire, as far as areas go, is a quite large one. It's quite rural because they've chopped out Swindon. Swindon's the only big, large town I can think of there. But Swindon's got its own, it's got its thing going on. But yeah, Greggs count in Wiltshire 25. I want to know, where are they? Has every village in Wiltshire got a Greggs? Okay. Bristol's like in the middle somewhere. We're doing pretty well. Like I said, we saw a lot of Greggs yesterday. So, and then let's go up to Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton, where Lawrence is from. Not big on the Greggs either. But Birmingham's
Birmingham's hot on the Greggs. How many for Birmingham?
So what you can also do, if we want to, I'm sure Lawrence will be making a video short of this in the coming days, is we can actually apply a filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and let's see the Greggs count. So where should we start? Let's start with the places that have more than 15 Greggs, and then we'll go up from there. Oh, greater than in Greggs. Okay, so we can see the pattern here. So Wiltshire is the outlier. What's this here? I don't think there's a Northamptonshire. I don't think there's any big towns in Northamptonshire either. Okay, so Northamptonshire is another outlier like Wiltshire that doesn't have any big cities or towns in it. So we're disproving the hypothesis that it's directly correlated with population.
I think your buddy might be right.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll have a look at that in a second. But all right, so we get up here: Leeds, Liverpool, Newcastle. Erin, did you find out where Greggs is headquartered? Newcastle upon Tyne. So this is Greggs headquarters right here, Newcastle upon Tyne. They got 32. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So Greggs' headquarters there. You got to support the local team, haven't you? So let's move the bar up a little bit. I think 15 we're going a bit easy. Let's push the bar up. Let's go 25. Let's get into the big leagues now. Getting into the big leagues. This is professional Greggs now. We're in the amateur leagues before. Now we're into professional Greggs. So we've got Cardiff, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. But there's some I can see on the right here that go up to 36 or 35. All right, let's go crazy. Let's get into the 35.
Bump it.
Let's see where we
are. Three results.
35. Okay, so we're in Birmingham, Leeds, Glasgow, and Edinburgh. So Birmingham, for those outside the UK, Birmingham's a big city, big metro area. There'll be a couple of million people there. Leeds is a medium-sized city, probably like 500,000, 600,000, I imagine. Glasgow's similar. Edinburgh's a bit smaller. So in this pile here, Edinburgh's punching above its weight. Okay, I think Edinburgh's. Yeah. So let's go into the filters here. Right, let's go right. I'm going to go in smaller increments as they start dropping off now. So let's get into the 40s. Who's still in the mix? Birmingham, Leeds, and Glasgow. So we're into the last three. Let's see who's going to get in the last two. Let's get up to 45. Same guys. Okay, so those three are in like a class of their own. They're not even close to the others. Let's get up to 50. Got more than 50 Greggs. All right, drum roll, please. Let's hit the apply. It's just Glasgow. Oh no, Birmingham and Glasgow. Okay, one of them. Drum roll for the win. Who's got 55 Greggs or more? The winner is Glasgow. City of Glasgow has 55 Greggs.
55 Greggs.
55 Greggs in Glasgow. Wow. All right, we're gonna have to do a little bit of research on this because in my head I think Glasgow's biggest city in Scotland. It might be 1 million people. It might be, but I thought I would have sort of gone less than 1 million. Glasgow. All right, so let's find out about Glasgow. So Glasgow. Just go on Wikipedia. What we got here? So what's the population of Glasgow? The population is. Let's go down here. Council area 600,000. Urban area is about 1 million. Metro million is about 1.8. Okay, so it's a big city. It's a big city. So maybe similar size to Birmingham in that case. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I want to see where all those Greggs are. Let's see if because our map doesn't show us where the Greggs are within Glasgow. So
I just want to throw this out there that I typed in why does Glasgow have on Google, and the autofill was a low life expectancy. That's not what I wanted to know.
Was that Google or ChatGPT?
That was Google. You know, they have the autofill, and you type in like why does Glasgow. Yeah, that was rough. I was just trying to see if someone said why they have so many Gregs. Greggs has traded longer in these major cities than most of the UK, and consequently have a more mature shop estate. Easy peasy. Well, I don't know what you were going to present today. What was it?
All right, so let me just wrap up then. So Mapstack, just go to mapstack.io. It's online now. If you've got any data, at the moment there's some limitations. This is only a beta version, so the limitations are this: you can only upload GeoJSON. We only accept quantities, and we only do quantity. Only GeoJSON, only polygons, and only quantity legends. The people who understand that are the people that need to know. If you don't understand that, you're probably going to be a consumer of the maps rather than a producer. So if you're a consumer of the maps, just go to Mapstack.io, check out the maps that are online, and have a play with the maps from the Unmapped podcast. And hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think, or give us some ideas of some maps to produce next time. Okay, Lawrence, over and out.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. Erin, is it able to come through?
I'm going to go ahead and start drafting up an angry email to EV Mux while we're on.
If we mentioned EV Mux in the podcast, we should get some money back from that. We've got like at least 25 people watching.
So guys,
okay, so Lawrence, I can see your screen.
Yeah, it's working, it's moving. Yeah. I'll let you know if it freezes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought that I would end something because I quite enjoyed the sort of the game element that we had last time. So I thought we'd bring something more like a quiz that we could all sort of take part in. So I've got two choices. We've got the countries of Africa, or we've got the US states. Originally, I thought US states would be good, but I thought maybe with Michael there, maybe is that an unfair advantage? I don't know.
I probably have the same geographic understanding of the US as you do, Lawrence. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, I'm basically an idiot. So
should we go?
That's Africa.
States. I think we should do one, and then maybe do the other one next week. So which one would you want to go for?
Let's go Africa. Let's go hard. We messed up so much in the last podcast finding Tunisia. I know this is going to be a train wreck. And just for disclosure. Just for disclosure, Lawrence told us on Slack a few days ago that we were going to do a quiz on Africa, and I'll hold my hands up. I did no homework. I was planning in my head, I'm going to do some homework.
I did nothing.
My geography skills really got found out in the last one. Did we get any clues?
No, I don't think so. You just got to play the quiz, and you have to type them in. So I'm going to have to type. So I'm going to have to do a lot of typing, probably for the first 2 minutes as we all rattle out what we remember, and then it's going to be a bit more. Okay. I imagine there'll be more guesses. So let's go for it. Let's. I'm just going to press play. So the timer's on, guys. So start shouting out some names.
We just got to type just the names.
Is that one there?
Type the name. So give me the name.
Oh, that's easy. All right, let's start at the bottom. Let's start at the bottom now. That's a bit easier. So we'll go South Africa.
One.
Botswana.
Djibouti.
Djibouti.
Can't
Djibouti.
DJ.
Botswana.
DJ.
Zimbabwe.
Oh, I think there's an I in Djibouti. It's gonna give it to you though.
Look, we can check the spelling, can't we?
It's DJ.
Yeah, but what's after DJ?
Oh, it doesn't. It's no type ahead. That's challenging.
And you got
to spell it the right way too. Okay, Angola. Skip Djibouti. Right. We'll come back to it.
I think we should start at the bottom and move up, because otherwise we're going to be all over the place. Or I suppose we could just do the easy ones first, and then
just rattle them out. I think so. I would take Ghana.
All right, go on.
Yeah.
Okay, Ghana, Nigeria.
So Nigeria. So I just put. Nigeria. Niger went through there as well.
Yeah, Morocco.
Yeah. Morocco.
Tunisia. Everyone's going to scream if we don't get Tunisia.
Yeah.
Egypt. Angola. Sudan's two countries now: South Sudan and Sudan.
Libya.
Eritrea.
Hey. How you spell Eritrea?
Yeah.
Let's do the ones that are easy to spell first.
Okay, Congo.
Madagascar.
Congo, let's get the big ones.
Congo. Does it? Oh, it's it's the Democratic. Is it the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Is it gonna spell check you?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Nice.
Okay, let's get a bit of the East End as well. Kenya,
Madagascar.
Oh yeah,
Kenya,
Madagascar's got the island.
Rwanda. Rwanda, I think, is right next to Kenya.
That's Somalia.
Somalia, yeah, Somalia is right over there too, I think. Let's see. What are the islands? What are the islands that are circled?
Well, the ones in circles are actually part of the EU. So that's the Canary Islands on the left.
Right.
They're not actually part of Africa. So this is like these
circled
types of colonies there. So we've got Sudan, South Sudan. I think there's just the Congo. There's Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The bit to the north is
maybe just Congo.
Tried Congo before, but no.
What's
Eritrea? Eritrea.
Yeah.
Maybe with an I.
Eritrea. Yeah, there we go.
Hey. Okay, what else? What do we got?
What's the one?
Aaron, can you pull up the spelling for Djibouti? We've got it. It's just a spelling issue.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. We still got a lot of countries, guys.
Okay, right. Okay, let's just start throwing them out there. Like Mali. Let's not worry about Djibouti for the moment. We'll come back to that.
Mali.
Yeah, we got it.
There we go. We got Djibouti. We got
Tanzania.
Djibouti.
Tanzania.
Yeah, Tanzania.
Yep.
I'm just trying to remember countries. Sierra Leone.
Ethiopia. Let's get Ethiopia because then we're nearly done with East Africa.
There we go. O-N-E.
Yeah. Sierra Leone. So, and then Ethiopia.
Yeah, Ethiopia. Then we're kind of done with the East. Like the West Africa is going to be the big one there. So we've got the Sudan. So what's between Tunisia and Morocco? This is going to be so obvious. Look at that.
Oh, that's Algeria.
There we go. Okay, Algeria.
Algeria. Did we do Angola?
Then, Angola. We've done Angola, Michael.
Angola. Okay.
Gambia is
Senegal, French speaking.
Senegal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameroon. Let's start doing any African team that does well at the World Cup. So we've got. So we're Cameroon. We've already got Senegal. What's
Zimbabwe.
What's the country that's like west of Botswana? It's the one with the desert coast.
Chad. Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Oh, Zimbabwe. Yeah. We haven't got Zimbabwe. Okay. Yeah, we're doing all right here. So those ones on the left there.
Still got 5 minutes. We're doing good.
Oh, we're on a 5-minute timer.
Yeah.
We got 5 left. Yeah. I think they gave us 10.
Idi Amin, Uganda.
Yeah.
Now let's think about anywhere that's had a war. Let's because those ones that be in the press. So we've already had Angola. We've already had Sierra Leone, Congo.
I don't know if it's not as a war, but Namibia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Namibia. Yeah. That's what we want. That's the one with the desert coast, isn't it? I was looking at that the other day. So
is Namibia and Nambia? Are those two different ones, or am I making up names now? Botswana.
Botswana. Yeah, we've already got Botswana, just north of South Africa. What's the country that's the little island in South Africa there? There's 2 of them. Soweto, no.
Swaziland?
Oh, sorry? Swaziland.
Swaziland.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Eswatini, apparently.
Okay. I was just thinking of the football, Ivory Coast.
Oh, yep.
Cote d'Ivoire.
Roger Miller, was he Ivory Coast or was he Cameroon? Remember Roger Miller, 1990 World Cup? You're too young.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
World Cup, that's when they play football, right?
It is.
Morocco.
Yeah, I don't know where we're here. I'm really struggling with any of those ones out in the east there above Senegal. So so Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria. What's between Ghana and Nigeria?
Oh, Mali. Yeah, there we go.
What's the other Congo called? It's called something, man. Congo. We need a type ahead. There's like 2 of them. I don't know. Maybe we need to ask. I don't know. Okay, so let's go back to the wars places. So we got Sierra Leone, Liberia.
Oh yeah, Liberia. That's right.
Charles Taylor. I've got all these names for places in the news. Liberia. Okay, so we're getting a little bit on that east bit there. Burkina Faso. Where did I get that from?
Burkina Faso.
I think it's a city, not a.
It is a country.
Oh, it is a country.
Well done, sir.
You know, when you listen to the World Service, I should know these. You ever listen to, like, in Cambodia, there's not many English language radio stations, but the BBC World Service is one. And anytime they come to the news, they say, you are now listening in. And they would always rattle off a load of countries in Africa and Asia. So some of them are in there from that. Right, how much we got? We've got 2 minutes left.
And we've got 19 to go.
All right, so let's get up to that northeast coast. What are those two countries? So Erin just spoke in her ear saying one of the Congos is democratic, one's not democratic. The country can't be called the not democratic republic. Yes, Congo. Okay, so Republic of the Congo. Erin just said, what happened if you left off the democratic? He's thrown us clues. Let's just put the Republic of the Congo.
Oh, there we go. Republic of the Congo.
There we go. So one's democratic and one's not. Okay.
Yeah, that almost doesn't seem fair.
18 to go.
So what's south of Morocco? What are those two countries there? Those huge.
We're gonna know.
Is Mauritius in Africa?
Oh, Mauritius. Yeah, Mauritius. No, I think that's Asia. I got a friend who's from Mauritius. He's
it's in between. Yeah, that's one.
Class is Africa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seychelles.
Seychelles as well. Then maybe because they're close to each other, aren't they?
Yep.
Seychelles. Yeah, I'm trying to remember islands, but they get funny. Like some are, like you said, some are like Spanish colony or French colony.
Togo.
Nice.
Oh,
nailed it.
We're getting there now. What's in between that? Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria.
Ghana. Did we put Ghana? We put Ghana.
Malawi. I don't think that's there.
Guyana. Is that another one?
That's in South America, isn't it? Guyana.
Yeah, there's some of them. I'm not, like I was gonna say Trinidad, but I'm like that's not there.
That's the West Indies.
Get Malawi in. Because we haven't got Malawi. That's definite. That's definitely Africa.
Guinea. New Guinea. No, that's Papua New Guinea. New Guinea.
Well, those huge ones. What's that east of South Africa? That's a massive country. That's a massive piece of land, and it would be subtropical. So there's obviously it's not
below Tanzania.
Yeah, I'm sort of like we should know that one. It's like
it's borders Tanzania. Come on. What do we got?
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to kick ourselves with that one. Those ones in the northeast up there, I'm pretty sure are just going to be desert where there's a big piece of land. There's probably 12 people live there. Oh, Erin's giving us a clue here. The one about South Africa begins with N.
Say that again.
M for Michael.
Mozambique.
We've said that though.
No, we got Madagascar.
Oh, you got it. Did you get it? No, we don't think we missed it.
Not in time.
Central African Republic.
Benin.
Equatorial
Guinea. Zambia. Okay, Zambia. I'll kick myself for Zambia. Central African Republic. All right.
For the record, the big one we were trying to figure out there at the end was Mozambique.
We did have it. It was just Lawrence's shaky spelling that let us down on that one, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I think of those ones, the ones I kick myself about, Central African Republic, Zambia, Mozambique. Like Benin.
Mauritania, that was the
Equatorial
big
Guinea. I wouldn't be able to place those.
73%. It's not too bad. Well, we got 76, so the average score is 73, so we are 3% better than average.
But that was three of us working together.
I think
but these are pretty, I don't know.
I think we should do more African maps. I think I need a channel. I need to kick off a channel in Mapstack, a workspace for maps in Africa, because I feel like this is a real hole in my knowledge and my geography. And not only the geography, like the outlines of where the borders are, but the actual data. You know, I know a few things. Nigeria's got a big population. South Africa's pretty big, but aside from that, I would struggle telling you whether has Algeria got more people than Morocco. I would struggle to tell you things about demographics, like age groups, various things.
I can tell you every country that grows coffee.
Okay,
in Africa.
Well, you should start a coffee workspace, Michael. But I think that would be a good theme for us, because the unmapped. That's what this podcast is already about. That's why we riff off this term, the unmapped. Where are the places that generally get ignored when it comes to mapping and open data? So Cambodia is one place that we've all got on this podcast a lot of love for, often gets ignored. I think a lot of countries in Africa also ignored. When you go to the UK or the US, you have these big, data.gov, big portals, and they have all the maps. But the data is pretty thin on the ground in developing countries. And that doesn't mean that the data's not there. It's just often difficult to find and poorly presented. So I think a theme of a future podcast, let's do like a bit of a deep dive in Africa. Pull out some really interesting data that we weren't familiar with before, so we can go on a little journey and tell a story of Africa based on data. What do you think? 2 thumbs up?
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Sounds good.
I think I'll do a coffee of Africa.
Coffee of Africa.
Coffee's actually from Africa.
Next podcast, we're doing the Africa podcast. Okay, I want to come on. I want to this week. I'm going to make some maps, and I want to feel like I know more than I did before about Africa.
Should we all wear dashikis or?
That would probably get us cancelled, Michael.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I'd like to keep my Twitter account, thanks. Yeah. All right.
Nice place to leave it then. So next week is the Africa podcast.
The Africa podcast. Okay. Unmapped Africa.
Okay.
Easy. Let's do it.
All right. Okay. There's one more little announcement. Little announcement from Lawrence. So we said in the last podcast, we've been making video shorts trying to increase engagements in map-based data visualizations amongst a younger audience. And it's been slow going, but we just hit a new milestone, didn't we, Lawrence?
Yeah, so last week, actually on the podcast last week, we reached a new milestone. We'd reached the first 1,000 views, so it was 1.3. So this week, we've bettered that to 1.6. So I think it's just going up and up and up every week. It's just as we learn more and get better at doing it and just find more interesting data. But now that Mapstack is live and there's a lot of data on there, it's just going to be, we're going to be able to make just interesting stuff. And it's not going to be like, Chris, can you make me a map or anything? It's just going to be there so you can start making shorts about whatever is in the system.
And out of interest, what was the map in the video short?
It was about European fertility rates, just the lowest in Europe. So it was a pretty niche subject, but 1.6, cool. 30 odd likes, comments, very few dislikes. It was like, it's obviously interesting information to people when it's, cut down and condensed, and it just gives you a quick snapshot of something. So it'd be good. We could actually put the link to the map this time as well.
We were talking about on-ramps earlier. Something like video shorts is really important. That's the very first step onto that on-ramp. Just going, this data is interesting. I learned something. Okay. Yeah. Question number 2. We're on YouTube Shorts. When are we going on TikTok? Because TikTok is obviously the big dog, isn't it?
I think the reach on both of them is quite good at the moment. But I think next week or the week out.
I think we should do it. I think we should go to TikTok.
Yeah, just go for
hard.
It. Just go. Okay.
That's where my kids are.
We've got a bank of shorts. We've got a bank of shorts. We can just start uploading to TikTok as well. See how they do.
Because we want to hit that really younger audience. I feel like that's where they are. I feel like video shorts on YouTube is kind of like TikTok for boomers. I don't know, or maybe I would
say the demographics of the people on YouTube Shorts are a little bit older. Yeah, I can check them.
Millennials,
because we have enough data now. We've had thousands of views across the videos.
Yeah, I think it goes Shorts and then Reels on Instagram, followed by TikTok. As far as age consumption goes, I would assume. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm going to be a total boomer here. Snapchat, are you on Snapchat? That's not a content sharing platform, but that's the one I see my daughter on all the time, taking pictures of her forehead, sending them to her friends. It's like weird.
Yeah, there's a throwaway messaging.
Snapchat is something that I just I haven't even looked into that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't, I'm pretty,
I skipped it.
But I'm just, no, it's too much. All right, let's wrap it up there then, guys. Thanks for joining us again, everybody in the audience, and Lawrence, Michael. I will see you both next week.
Sounds good.
See you next week, guys.
All right, peace.